gavel knock. We have a special presentation. I'd like to ask Stephen and Audrey Zub to come forward. Understand you're in the gallery. Yeah, right up here would be great. You filled in your census online.
We did.
Yeah, and we have a $500 Cochrane dollar gift pack here for you. So just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the town of Cochrane for A, filling in your census, and B, doing it online. Yeah, so. It should be. Well, I don't think a lot of people. Yeah, so I'm just gonna come around there and give you.
Sure.
You guys wanna up?
Oh, wow, this is a big deal.
It is. Well, we're trying to promote.
I wanted to
Yes. So, really, not a lot of people realize that the census is how we get our municipal money from this office. So you're actually doing your duty.
Well, that could be.
Now we will call the meeting to order. All right. Nice May weekend. Yeah? Save the weather for today instead of the weekend. First order on the agenda is the agenda. I get a motion to adopt the agenda, or is there anything anyone would like to add or delete? No? Okay. Councillor Reid, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Previous minutes. Councillor Padeco, do you want to do that?
I'll approve that we move the previous minutes.
All those in favor of that? It's carried. Thank you. Moving into delegations.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to introduce this delegation. You may recall you saw them about a year ago when they came to talk about their solar project. And of course, I'm introducing the Cochrane High School Sustainable Development Committee, which is a student-led organization with over 15 years of volunteer activities with the goal to maintain the quality of life for future generations. Their mandate is to be the change that we wish to see in the world. This group has done some amazing things in a very short period of time. I do want to recognize their teacher, Ms. Stephanie Bennett. I've had an opportunity to work with her over the last couple of years, and she does some great work, and these kids, of course, do some amazing things. And I won't take away from their presentation because they've got some exciting things to share for you. But with that, I'll introduce the committee, which consists of Brady, Travis, Emilio, Catherine, Mackenzie Davies, and Mackenzie Ashcroft, and of course led by Stephanie Bennett. So, Ms. Bennett, thank you.
All right. Great to have you guys here. It was, it's appropriate. We had your graduation on the weekend. Did any of you have the honor of graduating on the weekend?
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Ashcroft. I'm one of those recent graduates. So, as they've said, our Cochrane High School Sustainable Development Committee is a student-led organization with to correct, 19 years of volunteer action. Our committee's objective is to improve the sustainability of our school through policy initiatives and infrastructure changes. Our latest phase of this overreaching project was to address transmission losses and pollution from our current electricity supply system and identify where there could be room for improvement. So as of now, we have installed 130 low-lying solar modules on the gymnasium roof of Cochrane High School. So this photovoltaic system has a capacity for 50.05 kilowatt hours, generating an estimated total of 56,200 kilowatt hours annually, which this is sufficient enough to service 7 average Cochrane households, actually. The total funds raised for the system were $108,000, which includes capital expenses, labor permits, cost overruns, and GST, and we began this project in October of 2017.
To give a little background, CHS's 2013-14 energy consumption was over 600,000 kilowatt hours. We hope to reduce our impact. With that in mind, we have switched a portion of our electrical consumption to on-site low-carbon technology. The proposed 50.05 kilowatt system is estimated to produce 8.3% of the school's electrical consumption. The installation of this renewable energy system directly aligns with pathways 3 and 4 of the Town of Cochrane's sustainability plan, which aspires to have 30% of the town's energy coming from renewable sources and reducing the amount of greenhouse gases by 30% by 2029. We are not only helping our school by saving money and improving public health, but we are also proudly helping the Town of Cochrane to meet its sustainability targets.
We're here to formally thank the Town Council for their help in connecting our group with various local builders and to help get our fundraising ideas off the ground. By speaking to Town Council 18 months ago, we were able to raise awareness of our project, which helped us begin our fundraising efforts. We'd also like to thank the Municipal Climate Change Action Center from Edmonton, Totem Charitable Foundation, and Fortis for their major contributions to this phase of our project. Without their financial support, this project would not exist. We would also like to formally acknowledge various businesses and service groups in town who participated in our Adopt a Panel campaign, which was a major part in reaching our financial goals. These businesses and service groups include Great Things in Store, Jamin Built, On Growing Works, Mountain Toys, Cochrane Activettes, CEAC, Cochrane Rotary Club, and Apex. There were also 6 dozen individuals that contributed to our campaign, and we are grateful to this community for their support of our energy project.
We are hoping the Town Council is motivated by our project, which can be applied to the town's transition towards an energy system composed of 30% renewable energy by 2029. We would like to conclude our presentation by showing you a short video clip of our completed project. Thank you for your interest and support.
Cochrane High Sustainable Development Committee is pleased to announce that we have installed 130. Sorry. Cochrane High Sustainable Development Committee is pleased to announce that we have installed 130 solar panels on the roof of our school. These panels will account for 8.5% of our school's power consumption. This means that 9.3% of Cochrane High's energy will be coming from renewable sources. Planning and fundraising for this project began in January of 2018. It's our most ambitious project to date, and we are ecstatic with its success. The Cochrane High Sustainable Development Committee thanks everyone who played a part in this amazing journey. It's looking forward to sharing a more stable future for our school.
So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Awesome I mean, so the video essentially was what you just presented, but drone footage, or was that, yeah? Awesome. So I just want to wish you, well, not wish, I want to extend congratulations to your whole group. Job well done. You obviously raised the funds, you initiated community support, you've been to council now twice. Takes a lot of nerve to stand up there and present. And I just also at this time I'd like to thank Drew and your crew for supporting the Cochrane High initiative here. I think connecting them, and I think you guys spoke to it in your presentation, but connecting the developer liaison group and the builders was I think instrumental in getting your word out. So and last note, you said you hoped you motivated us. Essentially, I think I could speak for on all of our behalfs, and somebody's got some questions, but even today I met with a gentleman around solar powering different arrays in Cochrane, and whether we would be interested in signing up for a feasibility study to become a community that would be interested in building more solar. So by all means, you've motivated us. So keep up the good work. And I was trying to be funny at the beginning and ask if any of you had graduated this past weekend. And I'll just, yeah, 1, 2, 3. Well, good luck. 4, 2, all of you. Good luck to those of you who are graduating, and thank you for making the community a better place than when you were here. So, thank you. Councillor Federico.
I just wanted to say congratulations. That's a pretty big job that you guys were able to accomplish. Although some of you are leaving, the committee, I imagine, stays on. Are there any other projects that you guys are going to be working on in the future as far as sustainability goes?
We have a meeting Wednesday, actually, to figure out what we do next. So
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing about it.
we'll definitely try.
Councillor McFadden.
Yeah, thank you. I'll move the recommended action that we accept your presentation by the Cochrane High School Sustainable Development Committee as information. And I wanted to echo the comments made already. Congratulations on your hard work. Really well done and quite the accomplishment. I did have a question. One of the things you mentioned was that because of your project, you're able to provide 8% of the school's electricity needs in a year. What's the lifespan of the solar panels? How long are you going to be able to provide that much electricity?
So I believe they're on warranty for about 30 years, and then, but it's like very common for them to last 40 plus years. So.
Excellent, well done. Well, congratulations again, and thanks for coming out tonight.
Councillor Flowers.
Yes, I too wanted to say thank you for the great presentation and all your hard work. You're great role models to other youth in the community and to us as well. It is very motivating. And thank you to Ms. Bennett, who's been leading these projects for years and is very passionate about the work that she does. Thank you.
All right, no more questions. You guys got off easy. All those in favor of Councillor McFadden's motion to accept his information? Unanimous support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Moving into finance. Ms. Knight, 2019 community grants.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In your agenda package this evening is the community grant report and distribution for consideration. The existing policy that governs the community grant program approval and application process is currently undergoing a revision. But as it has not been approved by council as of yet, the existing policy was used to review all applicants to determine contribution amounts and qualifications under this program. As part of the 2019 budget, council approved a maximum $45,000 budget to fund the community grant program. Last year, there were only a small number of grant applications received by administration, so to ensure all community groups were aware of the deadline for the applications, we raised the profile of the program through increased media and social media presence. This additional advertising increased the number of applications received this year from 13 applications in 2018 to 31 applications for 2019. The total requested amount from all of the groups was $86,500. Administration reviewed the applications against the current grant policy to determine the qualifying contributions, which are listed in the spreadsheet you received in your package. Under the current policy, that maximum amount is 50% of total cost to a maximum of $2,500, which brought the qualifying contribution amounts listed in the table to $66,832. Finally, in determining administration's recommendation for council to consider, keeping in mind the approved budget for 2019 is $45,000, administration recommended all applicants that met the policy criteria receive 68% of their qualifying contribution amount, so council would be able to support all of the organizations equally and stay within the approved budget. Council does, however, have the authority to waive the provisions of their existing policy at their discretion. All of the applications were provided to council separately in accordance with the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. So should council want to discuss the contents of the applications, administration would recommend that council go in camera to do so prior to coming out and deliberating the distribution of the funds. That's all I have. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Flowers?
Motion that we go in camera to discuss the contents of the applications.
Okay. So a motion to go on camera. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, need a motion to come out of camera? Councillor Wilson, I see your light flashing. Is that on purpose?
Also move.
All those in favor of coming back out of in camera? Carried, thank you. I don't know what the jargon is for that. Any questions, comments? Councillor Nagel?
I don't think we have a motion on the floor. I would just like
Nope.
to move the recommended action.
Okay, and that is to fund as per administration's recommendation?
Yes, I believe it's a 68% of everybody's requested amount, or qualified amount, so that we can do this within budget.
Okay. Thank you for that. Councillor Wilson, do you have?
Question and a comment?
Question?
Yeah,
Okay.
you betcha. I also support administration's recommendation. This is the last year it appears that we'll be doing things this way, as this is the old policy that we're still dealing with. I just had a question about, I see 2 community associations involved in here for funding. Obviously those are the only 2 community associations that applied for funding, and that's why we only see 2 out of the multiples that there are in the town.
It's not on. They do, the community associations also qualify for additional funding that is provided outside of this process to cover their insurance and things of that nature, but this was specific to these events.
And I was just hoping you could repeat for us in your presentation, last year versus this year, the number of applications we got, just based on the advertising of this?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilson. Last year, we had 13 applications for less than $30,000 of the approved $45,000 of the 2018 budget. And this year, we had 31 applications and almost doubled what a council had approved as their budget for 2019.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm also in support of our current solution. I think it makes sense, keeps us on budget, and we all see a hole with how it's currently being done, but we've dealt with that, and onward and upward, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Councillor Flowers?
I too like the way that it was organized, except for the museum. Because of the circumstances they had with the flooding this year, I would like to see them get the full amount. I don't know if we can go a little over budget, or if we would have to take it away from somewhere else, but that would be the one thing that I'd like to see different.
Okay, further to that, I've not had direct discussions with the museum organization chaps, but I was under the understanding that they were going to make a presentation to council on what their exact amount was for damages, what they were short in their fundraising, if any, and where they were, just what they were expecting from council. I was not surprised by their application, but I mean, they filled it in and we went through the process, but I was expecting them to come back. Ms. Knight, have you contacted or had any discussions from chaps?
They have contacted me. Our original discussion when they came to our offices was that they would come before council once they had determined what funding they had raised within the community. And this is the only application I've seen so far. I'm not sure if there's going to be an additional delegation request coming forward at some point further to any decisions on this evening.
Okay. All right, does that give you a little more background? Yeah? Okay. Any other concerns, comments, questions? No? I have one comment I'll just throw out. I'm happy to support the recommended action if that's what council lands on. And without getting into specific organizations, et cetera, and I think all of these are great events and initiatives and build community. What I was concerned about, I guess, was that we've had some organizations, and they're following our policy, and no one's done anything incorrect, but we have some applicants that are doubling up, I guess, or in one case, there's 5. So I was wondering if council had the appetite to potentially allow just one for each and put the remainder of what that would be back into the rest of them so that each group got more. But then that would mean that I think there's three applicants that applied for more than one grant. I know I'm kind of throwing a curveball here, but again, if council thinks that we should just go with the recommended action and do the percentage thing, I like how administration came up with that, but as I read through, I was like, and maybe a question to you, Ms. Knight, would be, is there any applicant that wouldn't be able to do their function if they didn't get the full amount?
Through the chair to yourself, Mr. Mayor, we do have that as part of our application that we send out to all of the groups. Every application that I've seen, all of the groups did say that they would continue with their different programs and things outside of this process because they also look for revenue from many other sources, not just simply the town.
Yeah, and I understand how this might put us in a tough situation and maybe we're pitting one group over another, but I was trying to look at it from the perspective of each group then gets a significant amount of money or a more significant amount of funding versus one group getting more over others. So interested to hear your comments and also okay with the recommended action if that's where we landed. Councillor Padeco.
Personally, for myself, I would like to stick with the recommended action, and only just because of the way that the policy is set forward, and all of these groups did meet the actual qualifying conditions. I think Councillor Wilson's right. We know that we're going to be looking into this policy as we move forward. I think that that's definitely something that we could highlight perhaps next year, and that way it gives everybody the opportunity to understand what the actual rules are. I think if we did that this year, my worry is that these groups know that they've that they meet the policy, they met the criteria that we actually already set out. So I think my personal opinion is to leave it as the recommended action for this year.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor McFadden?
Yeah, I can sort of support that as well. I certainly hear where you're coming from, and I think the best way to address that, of course, is when we're updating the policy as a whole, that we keep this in mind, whether council wants to limit how many projects one group could apply for. I certainly hear your point. But overall, I find this meets our budget targets, and it's equitable for everybody looking to participate, and everybody kind of understood what the ground rules were when they applied. So I think we're landed in the right spot.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Councillor Wilson?
Very quickly,
Yeah.
I'll echo my colleagues. I think we should stick with administration recommendation. I appreciate that there's a few multiple requests, but most of them to me look like they're for separate events, such as the Lions Club, and we look at it and we're looking at multiple different rodeo events that are all very beneficial for Cochrane as a whole, and I think can be treated as a separate entity for this year at least. So
okay.
I'm comfortable.
Thank you for the feedback. I'm happy to just let it lie at that. And I do look forward to us digging into this program as everyone's spoken about. So, okay, all those in favor of the recommended action to support the funding as presented? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Knight. Good evening. Ms. Van Kine-Pima. 2 more years, I'll have it down.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Janung, members of council. I'm before you this evening to ask council to approve a tax reduction. First of all, for Mr. John Robinson of $26,893.84. The reason why we're asking for this reduction in Mr. Robinson's taxes for 2019 is that the town of Cochrane and Mr. Robinson entered into a road dedication, construction and access agreement in September of 2017 for the purposes of us constructing James Walker Trail, the road leading to the new bridge that's under construction right now. Mr. Robinson had a gravel operation in that area and is required as part of this agreement to relocate the gravel operations. That doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period of time. So Mr. Robinson had expressed his concern that he would be taxed on 2 gravel operations at the same time as he was transferring things over. So part of the agreement was to assure him that he would not be paying any more taxes than he would have had he left his gravel operations where they were. So the purposes of this refund is to put him in that same position. So how the calculation was is figuring out the acreage of what it was before and what the tax dollars would be at the 2019 property tax rates, comparing that to how it would be now with the current assessment, with the gravel operations changing. Most of the land was under farmland assessment, which is at the residential tax rate. A gravel operation is at a non-residential tax rate, so that's why there's a significant difference. If you're counting up the acreages under financial implications, you may say, oh, it doesn't add up to what it was before, and that's because a portion of the land not only changed for farmland to gravel operations, but a part of it gets taken away for road allowance, backsloping, as well as for a residential subdivision. So all of that added together makes a difference of the $26,893.84 that I hope council would consider reducing for Mr. Robinson.
Okay, thank you. So this was not a surprise. This is
No.
an agreement that was in place to allow for road alignment, bridge building, all of that, et cetera, moving gravel pit, which you talked about, budgeted for and not going to affect our 2019 budget.
No.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Councillor Nagel.
I would like to move the recommended action. The council approves reducing the 2019 property taxes for John Robinson by $26,893.84. I obviously think it's important that we honor our agreements, and I also, having been on council while all these agreements were come to, I think it's a miracle we got everybody in the area to agree to let us build the bridge and the connecting roads, so obviously wouldn't want to jeopardize any of that.
Good motion. Thank you. Councillor Reid?
Yeah, I support the motion. I just wanted to know what tax would be paid on what and for 2019.
Sorry, I'm not really clear on what your question is.
So if I understood so this is part of the agreement that goes back to September.
Correct.
And as I understand it, there are two gravel operations now, the current one and the new one.
Correct.
And so the new one is functional and operating. So I'm just curious, is this person paying any taxes this year? And if so, is it on the new site?
Yes, Mr. Robinson's paying taxes. It's just that his previous operation was set up so that there was 20 acres of gravel extraction and there was 134.4 acres of farmland.
Right.
And now, as he's shifting things over, right now at this point, the only change is on one parcel of land. And so he now has 75.48 acres total of gravel extraction and 47.96 acres of farmland. So he still has the transition going on. So he actually has more gravel being extracted because now there's two sites rather than just the one site as he's making that transition over.
Okay, so he's paying taxes on the new site then?
He is paying taxes. It's just that the calculation of that is going to be based on how the division of the land was previously as he's making the transition over to the gravel operation. Then once he's operating in one spot, then the taxes will be as they are with one gravel operation.
Okay, thank you.
So a little bit of both, I think.
Yeah.
It's a blend right now until you get to the one.
Yeah.
That gets your question answered? Yeah. Okay. Councillor Padeco?
And I just have one question kind of following that. Is it anticipated that next year he's down to one location, or is it something that we're going to see for the next few years?
There's a 6-year period of time over which he's going to be moving his gravel operations over that period of time. So whether he's completed that or not, at the end of the 6 years, this agreement ends and there would be no adjustment for taxes after that period of time.
And I imagine that amount could change year to year, just depending on what the operations are looking like?
That's correct. So we'd be looking at it every year. So it's not like other agreements where we've had a base year and that your taxes get held at that. You still look at what the taxes would be if his operations stayed where they were and compared that to what the taxes are with his operations changing to what they currently are. And then the difference is what we're coming to council for.
Gotcha. And I imagine that going into next year, will we have money put away in the budget to cover this off as well?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, no other questions? I echo what Councillor Nagel has said. Very complex agreement. Glad to see we're honoring it. So, all those in favor of the reduction in taxes? carried. Thank you. We have one more, I understand.
Yeah. So this one's been coming before council a few times now, and it is for Vantage Land Corporation. So the motion before you this evening is that council approves reducing the 2019 Community Revitalization Levy property taxes for Vantage Land Corporation by $67,719. What this is, in March of 2010, prior to that, the town of Cochrane, right smack dab in the middle of downtown, had a contaminated site. We entered into an agreement with Vantage Land Corporation and Springwood Development Incorporated to remedy that land, clean up the contamination, and begin to develop it. As you can see, that was quite successful, but it's not quite complete. The idea behind the agreement was that for the period of time until development permits are issued on all of the property, that we would be providing them with a reduction to the taxes that they pay. And being in the downtown area, they are subject to the community revitalization levy on their properties, which includes the property taxes or the education tax portion as well. So at this point in time, as they develop, less and less of that is subject to a reduction, and we're left with the 2.25 acres that still does not have a development permit on it. The taxes on that is equal to $67,719, and I'm proposing that council approves that reduction this evening. And I welcome any questions.
I was going to ask the exact same ones budgeted for and not a surprise.
That's correct.
Perfect. Okay. Councillor McFadden.
I will move that council approve reducing the 2019 Community Revitalization Levy property taxes for Vantage Land Corporation by $67,719. Again, it's just one of those opportunities where we were able to work with the developer to get things happening in Cochrane that we needed to have done. In this case, transforming blighted, unusable land into something that's a regional draw.
Excellent point. No other comments? All those in favor of the motion? It's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Notices of motion. Councillor Nagel, you have one from last meeting. You have a couple meetings to bring it forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna be deferring this motion. It's stirred up quite a public discussion. And the reason for deferral, I guess there's two primary reasons. One of the major stakeholders and landowners affected by the idea would like an opportunity to come and speak to council, and they're gonna be doing that soon. I want to give them an opportunity to speak to us before we have any future conversation about this motion, as well with regards to all the feedback I've received from everybody. I've received lots on social media. As well, I did a great big email blast and received several dozen responses. And I think I'll be needing to adjust the motion a little bit before it comes back to broaden the scope and then also to include considerations from the stakeholder meeting. And if anybody wants to see all the feedback I've received, I would happily compile a report for everybody with all the emails. I'll strike everybody's names off so people's privacy is protected. But there's a lot of comments. I don't want to waste the time compiling it if no one wants to read it. And that's my deferral.
Okay. Well, within your right to do so. Thank you.
Respectfully, Mayor, if we could just ask for some clarification. Councillor Nagel, I just want to confirm that you are postponing this indefinitely, or are you withdrawing this motion and planning to bring forward a new motion in the future?
It's not withdrawal. I'm definitely still interested in carrying on this conversation. I think it's a good conversation that has been brought up. I suppose it'll depend how much we modify the motion for. So for now, it's just a deferral, but if I want to materially alter it so it's completely different, then I'll withdraw it and bring forward a new notice of motion.
Okay, so we will postpone it indefinitely then, pending your notification that you wish it to come back in front of council.
Yes, but the thing is, just to be clear, I'm not killing the discussion and walking away from it.
No, certainly. Yeah. I just wanted to be certain, because otherwise this motion will come to the next two council meetings, and then at that point it expires and you would have to bring forward a new motion. So at this point we will postpone it indefinitely until we receive further direction.
Procedurally speaking, yes.
Correct.
Okay. So we're clear on that. Okay. Where were we here? Notices of motion. Is there any new notices of motion? No. Okay. Moving into mayor's report. Look at all the time we have. 2 minutes. Okay. I'll do my best. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Tuesday, May 14th, 8 a.m. No, actually it was 8 a.m. We had the staff roundup, all staff meeting, very well attended, well organized, all staff meeting. This is now becoming an annual event, and I think, actually I think Mr. Devan is going to be doing one in the spring and in the fall. This is obviously the spring one. I'm having less and less to do with these. Obviously, they're administrative function. I went and gave greetings and just shook hands and said hello to staff. Otherwise, it was a pretty cool arrangement. It was kind of done in a trade show style where each department that was working on something that they wanted to present to all of staff did so during a breakfast where you could grab something quick, and then there wasn't enough chairs for everyone to sit at, so it actually forced people to mingle and see each other and look at our vision that was being presented by one department, I forget which one, Ledge, I think. I just made that up. It was really good to see. And I had one story where one staff member who has worked here for, I forget the exact number, it was more than 7 years, who met another staff member who had worked here for as long, and they had never actually met each other. So first time having a conversation, and worked in the organization for multiple years. So I think mixing that up like it has been working, and I think Ms. Friels has a survey going out to all staff about their feedback for that event. So hopefully they feel that it was the same benefit that I did. Tri-site discussion. Okay, that was same day. Councillor Flowers and I had the opportunity to meet with the Seniors on the Bow organization, the Boys and Girls Club of Cochrane, and the Lions Club. It was kind of and I think I gave you guys the heads up on this before, where I reached out to each of those groups, or they've been contacting the town saying what's going on. So that meeting was to put them together, and off you go. So no town involvement at this point, just unless they require something, clarity or plans, etc. We're obviously going to help them. But the message from me to them, and Councillor Flowers, please correct me if you heard it differently, but was you guys need to work together. So practice now in getting your plans and your needs on lists. And this is not about getting the building built tomorrow. It's about coming back to the town when we're ready with their needs. So it's when we're ready, we're not going back to them and saying, how many bathrooms do you need? They already have done that work. So it's kind of the pre-work for pre-design to get to the blueprint stage. So that was that. So no promises made by the town other than go off and do your work and come back. Let us know how it goes. I was asked to go to the Cochrane Christian Academy grade 6 class. Obviously grade 6s do government, so spent an hour in there talking about 1A and 22 and transit, and always amazed at how well informed the grade 6s are. They had elected a mayor and appointed CAO and staff, and the biggest debate was, does the mayor get paid as much as the CAO? And I said, no, that position certainly does not. The mayor gets paid way less than the CAO, and then that erupted into a huge argument inside the classroom, and then I left. So happy to pass on that. So can't even read. Oh, commuter rail. I can't read my own writing. So I asked for a meeting with one of the major stakeholders with the community rail project. We had a meeting here with myself and Kristen to really facilitate how Cochrane could be helping them in moving this project forward. So they've reached out, they've asked for assistance in possibly in the Globe and Mail. They're doing an article in the Globe and Mail soon, so I may get interviewed for that. Secondly, they need assistance in reaching out to the Stoney Nakoda First Nation. So I've been out there 3 or 4 times now and starting to build relationships, and I'm going to try and put the two together so that they can start talks on how that might work in Morley. CMRB, I had my first vice chair conference call with CMRB to set up the agenda. So I think that's going to be very, very good for us. Got to go through all the agenda, have our say on some of the way the flow of the agenda works and what items are and when they're coming. And it's just been really good for me to actually be very prepared for those meetings well in advance. Went to the Golden Life Seniors Center on Grand Avenue, had a potluck lunch, and then presented our vision, and did a lot of, well, just general comments and questions from the floor about ranging from feedback on the vision and our strategic priorities all the way to naming a road by their facility that they are not clear on what it's called, and street sweeping, more gravel in that area. So things I'll be passing on to administration. Was a judge for a Lego building contest, and then not the same weight, but maybe as important, went to the speech from the throne. Brought a copy, was very, I think if anything, Mr. Guthrie, our MLA, somebody asked me today how is he working out as our representative, and I would say that one act of inviting me to, I understand, Councillor Nagel, you were at the swearing in the day before. I'm trying to find some piece of paper I can wave around, but it's, I got an invitation to sit on the floor in the legislature, which I'd never been at, which was a pretty awesome experience. But during that experience, I got the opportunity to shake hands with the Premier and put Cochrane on the map there, and then spent a couple hours in the Minister of Transportation's office. And he did not know me by name at the beginning of the day, but he sure does now. So that opportunity I'm very grateful for. So I would say that was a successful trip. And I brought the speech back if anyone would like to read it. It's kind of interesting, all the pomp and circumstance and the royalty, and it was quite the ceremony. So I was very happy to be a part of that. And on the way up, I picked up the Mayor of Airdrie. It's not like me to just waste 3 hours. I picked him up and grilled him on our community vision for 3 hours, and all the way home again. And we'll be following up with him. His initial reaction was, I think this is important because our vision doesn't fit in every community, and nor should it. But when we try to highlight and put aside green space, open space, not all communities are as lucky as Cochrane is and have done that in the past. And I'm not going to speak specifically to Airdrie, but I don't think they have the exact same open space, river, pathway, riparian areas that we are so, coveting. So I had to kind of, on the fly, morph our vision into, well, what is it that you have in your community that you would like to preserve? So that's kind of the gist of it. So I was kind of caught off guard a little bit about that, just assuming everybody has something awesome in their community, and lo and behold, we all know how lucky we are to live in Cochrane. So, yeah. Rushed back from Edmonton to get to the developer liaison meeting. Thank you, Mr. Heineman, for allowing me to be on the agenda again. I presented our community vision there to the developers and builders, and I would say modest feedback. I think they're waiting for the feedback from the community and just for us to set the stage. So it was good to put that out into the development community. Then I went out to Morley that same day to the Bearspaw Kananaskis Travel Center, and that was an invitation from the Bearspaw Chief Dixon, to be in attendance to them having another economic development opportunity in that area where they have the casino now. They've just added a Tim Hortons and an Esso card lock for truckers to stop, and a bit of a truck stop. So it was interesting to be a part of, and then they invited me to speak, so I had to give an impromptu speak. I know I'm almost getting to my 2 minutes. I'm almost done. But it was another good opportunity. So the chief reached out afterwards and said that he is looking to meet with us to talk about the lands adjacent to Bow Ridge. So I think we're all aware of that land being up for redesignation last year. Their plans are to continue along that same vein, and they would like Cochrane to be at the table in discussions on what they're going to do there. So I thought that was a huge step forward in that. So keep you posted. Rebecca's going to try and get a meeting for all of us to attend, a dinner or a lunch or something. Community engagement, community vision, public engagement. I think we had 10 or 12 people out. Thank you, Councillor McFadden and Flowers and Nagel for attending that evening. Feedback I thought was pretty good. I'll leave that to you guys to talk about if you were there for all of it. CMRB board. Okay, this is a big one. We had a big board meeting last week. On the agenda were two motions, one from the Rockview County and essentially asking the province for more time and extending the 2 years to another 3 or 1 more year, and essentially shutting down work on the growth plan until we had an action plan on servicing and water. I spoke against that. I don't think it's something that's in all of our interest to stop regionally meeting. Despite not having plans for water, I mean, I think we need to continue to work on that, obviously. So that was defeated. It was, and it was quite interesting. It went on for about 2 hours, that debate about, and then there was amendments, and then there was procedure, and then there was an amendment to that. And essentially, because of the voting structure needing 7 in favor, it was defeated with 6 in favor of it. So it was a very interesting meeting, but at the end of the day, things have stayed exactly the same. And other than we started having actually some good discussions on what's important. The second motion was from Airdrie, where Mayor Brown spoke about, he asked for a letter to go to the Minister of Municipal Affairs of all of us signing in unanimous consent to continue to work as a region on a growth plan, which was defeated. It was defeated. We could not agree to be all on the same board working in the same direction. So yeah, it's been a bit of a ride there. Again, it was a good discussion about what are the opportunities to each of these communities in the region to work together. Whether we get it done in 2 years or not, and that was my debate, was like, who cares? Let's just get a good plan and worry about the time afterwards. We'll ask for an extension if we need it, not in advance. So we did ask for each of the ministers of Transportation, Environment, and Premier Kenney to attend a meeting. So I am looking at that very closely because I'll have a heads up on the agenda. We'll know if we get confirmation of that, and I'd like to piggyback a meeting with all of us, with them as well, to move forward. 1A, environment is water, etc. So I think we can try and align some of those to work in our favor as a community. So, and then the last thing at the CMRB was we voted to keep the committee structure the same, and when appropriate, have them on the same day like we did last time. So Councillor Wilson will continue to be our servicing member, and I will be the land use, just as we've done in the past. And then this weekend, Cochrane High School grad. A very intimidating 1,500 person auditorium to speak in front of. So I thought I was cute. I took a picture of them from when I was giving my speech of them, so that I could post on social media about the next person from Cochrane to step foot on Mars or something. So I don't know if they picked up on it or not, but it was good to be asked and to be there. So 2 more of those coming up. And just a precursor for next week, I leave tomorrow for FCM with Councillor Wilson, Councillor Flowers, Councillor Reid, your deputy mayor. Thank you for stepping in and filling. I think you have 108 things to attend in the next 2 weeks or week. Yeah, you don't even say that. So thank you in advance for filling the role of deputy mayor. And I hope to bring back some cool things from FCM. That's my 2-minute report. No, this is a request. Any other council reports? Councillor Flowers?
Briefly, I wanted to say I'm excited about going to FCM. hoping to bring back lots of information as well and do some networking. I did attend the community visiting that was put on by Mayor Janung and Deputy Dave Devanna, CAO. They did an excellent job of representing us and sharing the information that we all agreed upon, and I was just very proud to be a part of the whole thing, and very well done.
Well, thank you. I have had a request from a resident of Canmore to do some digging on a session at FCM that is in regards to affordable housing. So if all or one of us wants to attend that, then I said I would give it a whirl, if it works. Any other reports? No? Okay. I think that's a wrap. All right. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks for your time. I used up all the council reports, I guess.